Hadīth 1. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, there is no disease that Allah has created, except that He also has created its treatment. Hadīth 2. Narrated Rubai bint Muawwid bin Afra, we used to go for military expeditions along with Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, and provide the people with water, serve them, and bring the dead and the wounded back to Medina. Hadīth 3. Narrated Ibn Abbas, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, healing is in three things, a gulp of honey, cupping, and branding with fire, cauterizing. But I forbid my followers to use cauterization, branding with fire. Hadīth 4. Narrated Ibn Abbas, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, healing is in three things, cupping, a gulp of honey or cauterization, branding with fire, but I forbid my followers to use cauterization, branding with fire. Hadīth 5. Narrated Aisha, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, used to like sweet edible things and honey. Hadīth 6. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullāh, I heard the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, saying, if there is any healing in your medicines, then it is in cupping, a gulp of honey or branding with fire, cauterization, that suits the ailment, but I don't like to be cauterized, branded with fire. Hadīth 7. Narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, a man came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and said, my brother has some abdominal trouble. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said to him, let him drink honey. The man came for the second time and the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said to him, let him drink honey. He came for the third time and the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, let him drink honey. He returned again and said, I have done that. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, then said, Allah has said the truth, but your brother's abdomen has told a lie. Let him drink honey. So he made him drink honey and he was cured. Hadīth 8. Narrated Anas, some people were sick and they said, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. Give us shelter and food. So when they became healthy they said, the weather of Medina is not suitable for us. So he sent them to Al-Udhra with some she-camels of his and said, drink of their milk. But when they became healthy, they killed the shepherd of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and drove away his camels. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, sent some people in their pursuit. Then he got their hands and feet cut and their eyes were branded with heated pieces of iron. I saw one of them licking the earth with his tongue till he died. Hadīth 9. Narrated Anas, the climate of Medina did not suit some people, so the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, ordered them to follow his shepherd, that is, his camels, and drink their milk and urine, as a medicine. So they followed the shepherd, that is the camels, and drank their milk and urine till their bodies became healthy. Then they killed the shepherd and drove away the camels. When the news reached the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he sent some people in their pursuit. When they were brought, he cut their hands and feet and their eyes were branded with heated pieces of iron. Hadīth 10. Narrated Khalid bin Sa'd, we went out and Ghalib bin Abjar was accompanying us. He fell ill on the way, and when we arrived at Medina he was still sick. Ibn Abi Atiq came to visit him and said to us, treat him with black cumin. Take 5 or 7 seeds and crush them, mix the powder with oil, and drop the resulting mixture into both nostrils, for Aisha has narrated to me that she heard the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, saying, this black cumin is healing for all diseases except Asam. Aisha said, what is Asam? He said, death. Hadīth 11. Narrated Abu Hurairah, I heard Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, saying, there is healing in black cumin for all diseases except death. Hadīth 12. Narrated Urwa, Aisha used to recommend At-Talbina for the sick and for such a person as grieved over a dead person. She used to say, I heard Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, saying, At-Talbina gives rest to the heart of the patient and makes it active and relieves some of his sorrow and grief. Hadith 13. Narrated Hisham's father, Aisha used to recommend At-Talbina and used to say, it is disliked by the patient, although it is beneficial. Hadith 14. Narrated Ibn Abbas, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was cupped and he paid the wages to the one who had cupped him and then took su'ud, medicine sniffed by nose. Hadith 15. Narrated Qais bint Mihsan, I heard the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, saying, treat with the Indian incense, for it has healing for 7 diseases, it is to be sniffed by one having throat trouble, and to be put into one side of the mouth of one suffering from pleurisy. Once I went to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, with a son of mine who would not eat any food, and the boy passed urine on him, whereupon he asked for some water and sprinkled it over the place of urine. Hadith 16. Narrated Ibn Abbas, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was cupped while he was fasting. Hadith 17. Narrated Ibn Abbas, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was cupped while he was in a state of Ihram. Hadith 18. Narrated Anas, that he was asked about the wages of the one who cups others. He said, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, was cupped by Abu Taybah, to whom he gave 2 sa of food and interceded for him with his masters who consequently reduced what they used to charge him daily. Then the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, the best medicines you may treat yourselves with are cupping and incense. He added, you should not torture your children by treating tonsillitis by pressing the tonsils or the palate with the finger, but use incense. Hadith 19. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullāh, that he paid Al-Mukanna a visit during his illness and said, I will not leave till he gets cupped, for I heard Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, saying, there is healing in cupping. Hadith 20. Narrated Abdullāh bin Buhayna, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, was cupped on the middle of his head at Lahi Jamal on his way to Makkah while he was in a state of Ihram. Narrated Ibn Abbas, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, was cupped on his head. Hadith 21. Narrated Ibn Abbas, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was cupped on his head for an ailment he was suffering from while he was in a state of Ihram, at a water place called Lahi Jamal. Ibn Abbas further said, Allah's Apostle was cupped on his head for unilateral headache while he was in a state of Ihram. Hadith 22. Narrated Jabir bin Abdullāh, I heard the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, saying, if there is any good in your medicines, then it is in a gulp of honey, a cupping operation, or branding, cauterization, but I do not like to be cauterized, branded. Hadith 23. Narrated Ka'b bin Udhra, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, came to me during the period of Al-Hudaybiyah, while I was lighting fire underneath a cooking pot and lice were falling down my head. He said, do your lice hurt you? I said, yes. He said, shave your head and fast for 3 days or feed 6 poor persons or slaughter a sheep as a sacrifice. Hadith 24. Narrated Jabir, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, if there is any healing in your medicines then it is in a cupping operation, or branding, cauterization, but I do not like to be cauterized, branded. Hadith 25. Narrated Ibn Abbas, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, nations were displayed before me, 1 or 2 prophets would pass by along with a few followers. A prophet would pass by accompanied by nobody. Then a big crowd of people passed in front of me and I asked, who are they? Are they my followers? It was said, no. It is Moses and his followers. It was said to me, look at the horizon. Behold! There was a multitude of people filling the horizon. Then it was said to me, look there and there about the stretching sky. Behold! There was a multitude filling the horizon. It was said to me, this is your nation out of whom 70,000 shall enter paradise without reckoning. Then the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, entered his house without telling his companions who they, the 70,000, were. So the people started talking about the issue and said, it is we who have believed in Allah and followed his apostle, therefore those people are either ourselves or our children who are born in the Islamic era, for we were born in the pre-Islamic period of ignorance. When the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, heard of that, he came out and said, those people are those who do not treat themselves with ruqyah, nor do they believe in bad or good omen, from birds etc., nor do they get themselves branded, cauterized, but they put their trust, only, in their Lord. On that, Ukasha bin Muhsin said, am I one of them, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him? The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, yes. Then another person got up and said, am I one of them? The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Ukasha has anticipated you. Hadīth 26. Narrated Salama, the husband of a lady died and her eyes became sore, and the people mentioned her story to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. They asked him whether it was permissible for her to use kohl as her eyes were exposed to danger. He said, previously, when one of you was bereaved by a husband she would stay in her dirty clothes in a bad unhealthy house, for 1 year, and when a dog passed by, she would throw a globe of dung. No, she should observe the prescribed period of iddah, for 4 months and 10 days. Hadīth 27. Narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, there is no udwa, no contagious disease is conveyed without Allah's permission, nor is there any bad omen, from birds, nor is there any hama, nor is there any bad omen in the month of Safar, and one should run away from the leper as one runs away from a lion. Note, the majority of scholars interpret this to mean that these things in and of themselves do not transmit or cause harm through supernatural or hidden means, but that Allah is ultimately in control and any fearful superstition around these is false. Hadīth 28. Narrated Sa'id bin Zayd, I heard the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, saying, truffles are like manna, that is, they grow naturally without man's care, and their water heals eye diseases. Hadīth 29. Narrated Ibn Abbas and Aisha, Abu Bakr kissed the forehead of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, when he was dead. Aisha added, we put medicine in one side of his mouth but he started waving us not to insert the medicine into his mouth. We said, he dislikes the medicine as a patient usually does. But when he came to his senses he said, did I not forbid you to put medicine, by force, in the side of my mouth? We said, we thought it was just because a patient usually dislikes medicine. He said, none of those who are in the house but will be forced to take medicine in the side of his mouth while I am watching, except Al-Abbas, for he had not witnessed your deed. Hadīth 30. Narrated Qais, I went to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, along with a son of mine whose palate and tonsils I had pressed with my finger as a treatment for a throat and tonsil disease. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, why do you pain your children by pressing their throats? Use Oud al-Hindi, certain Indian incense, for it cures 7 diseases, one of which is pleurisy. It is used as a snuff for treating throat and tonsil disease and it is inserted into one side of the mouth of one suffering from pleurisy. Hadīth 31. Narrated Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, when the health of Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, deteriorated and his condition became serious, he asked the permission of all his wives to allow him to be treated in my house, and they allowed him. He came out, supported by 2 men and his legs were dragging on the ground between Abbas and another man. The sub-narrator told Ibn Abbas, who said, do you know who was the other man whom Aisha did not mention? The sub-narrator said, no. Ibn Abbas said, it was Ali. Aisha added, when the Prophet entered my house and his disease became aggravated, he said, "Pour on me 7 water skins full of water, the tying ribbons of which had not been untied, so that I may give some advice to the people." So we made him sit in a tub belonging to Hafsa, the wife of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and started pouring water on him from those water skins till he waved us to stop. Then he went out to the people and led them in prayer and delivered a speech before them. Hadīth 32. Narrated Qais, that she took to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, one of her sons whose palate and tonsils she had pressed because he had throat trouble. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Why do you pain your children by getting the palate pressed like that? Use the Oud al-Hindi, certain Indian incense, for it cures 7 diseases, one of which is pleurisy." Hadīth 33. Narrated Abu Sa'id, a man came to the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and said, "My brother has got loose motions." The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Let him drink honey." The man again came and said, "I made him drink honey, but that made him worse." The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Allah has said the truth, and the abdomen of your brother has told a lie." Hadīth 34. Narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "There is no udwa, no disease is conveyed from the sick to the healthy without Allah's permission, nor safar, nor hama." A Bedouin stood up and said, "Then what about my camels? They are like deer on the sand, but when a mangy camel comes and mixes with them, they all get infected with mangy." The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Then who conveyed the mange disease to the first one?" Hadīth 35. Narrated Qais, that she took to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, one of her sons whose palate and tonsils she had pressed to treat a throat trouble. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Be afraid of Allah. Why do you pain your children by having their tonsils pressed like that? Use the Oud al-Hindi, a certain Indian incense, for it cures 7 diseases, one of which is pleurisy." Hadīth 36. Narrated Anas bin Malik, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, allowed one of the Ansar families to treat persons who have taken poison and also who are suffering from ear ailment with ruqyah. Anas added, "I got myself branded, cauterized, for pleurisy, when Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, was still alive." Abu Talha, Anas bin Nadr and Zayd bin Thabit witnessed that, and it was Abu Talha who branded, cauterized, me. Hadīth 37. Narrated Sahal bin Sa'd as-Sa'di, when the helmet broke on the head of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, and his face became covered with blood and his incisor tooth broke, that is, during the battle of Uhud, Ali used to bring water in his shield while Fatima was washing the blood off his face. When Fatima saw that the bleeding increased because of the water, she took a mat of palm leaves, burnt it, and stuck it, the burnt ashes, on the wound of Allah's apostle, whereupon the bleeding stopped. Hadīth 38. Narrated Nafi, Abdullāh bin Umar said, "The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, fever is from the heat of hell, so put it out, cool it, with water." Nafi added, Abdullāh used to say, "O Allah, relieve us from the punishment," when he suffered from fever. Hadīth 39. Narrated Fatima bint al-Mundir, whenever a lady suffering from fever was brought to Ismā bint Abu Bakr, she used to invoke Allah for her and then sprinkle some water on her body at the chest and say, "Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, used to order us to abate fever with water." Hadīth 40. Narrated Aisha, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Fever is from the heat of hell, so abate fever with water." Hadīth 41. Narrated Rafi bin Khadij, I heard Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, saying, "Fever is from the heat of hell, so abate fever with water." Hadīth 42. Narrated Anas bin Malik, some people from the tribes of Ukhl and Urayna came to Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, and embraced Islam and said, O Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him. We are owners of livestock and have never been farmers, and they found the climate of Medina unsuitable for them. So Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, ordered that they be given some camels and a shepherd, and ordered them to go out with those camels and drink their milk and urine. So they set out, but when they reached a place called Al-Udhra, they reverted to disbelief after their conversion to Islam, killed the shepherd and drove away the camels. When this news reached the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he sent in their pursuit, and they were caught and brought. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, ordered that their eyes be branded with heated iron bars and their hands be cut off, and they were left at Al-Udhra till they died in that state. Hadīth 43. Narrated Sa'd, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, If you hear of an outbreak of plague in a land, do not enter it, but if the plague breaks out in a place while you are in it, do not leave that place. Hadīth 44. Narrated Abdullāh bin Abbas, Umar bin al-Khattab departed for Sham, and when he reached Surg, the commanders of the Muslim army Abu Ubaidah bin al-Jarrah and his companions met him and told him that an epidemic had broken out in Sham. Umar said, Call for me the early emigrants. So Umar called them, consulted them and informed them that an epidemic had broken out in Sham. Those people differed in their opinions. Some of them said, We have come out for a purpose and we do not think that it is proper to give it up, while others said, to Umar, You have along with you other people and the companions of Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, so we do not advise that we take them to this epidemic. Umar said to them, Leave me now. Then he said, Call the Ansar for me. I called them and he consulted them and they followed the way of the emigrants and differed as they did. He then said to them, Leave me now, and added, Call for me the old people of Quraysh who emigrated in the year of the conquest of Makkah. I called them and they gave a unanimous opinion saying, We advise that you should return with the people and do not take them to that place of epidemic. So Umar made an announcement, I will ride back to Medina in the morning, so you should do the same. Abu Ubaidah bin al-Jarrah said, to Umar, Are you running away from what Allah had ordained? Umar said, Would that someone else had said such a thing, O Abu Ubaidah. Yes, we are running from what Allah had ordained to what Allah has ordained. Don't you agree that if you had camels that went down a valley having two places, one green and the other dry, you would graze them on the green one only if Allah had ordained that, and you would graze them on the dry one only if Allah had ordained that? At that time Abdurrahman bin Auf, who had been absent because of some job, came and said, I have some knowledge about this. I have heard Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, saying, If you hear about it, an outbreak of plague, in a land, do not go to it, but if plague breaks out in a country where you are staying, do not run away from it. Umar thanked Allah and returned to Medina. Hadīth 45. Narrated Abdullāh bin Amr, Umar went to Sham and when he reached Surg, he got the news that an epidemic, of plague, had broken out in Sham. Abdurrahman bin Auf told him that Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, If you hear that it, plague, has broken out in a land, do not go to it, but if it breaks out in a land where you are present, do not go out escaping from it. Hadīth 46. Narrated Abu Hurairah, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Neither Messiah, ad-Dajjal, nor plague will enter Medina. Hadīth 47. Narrated Anas bin Malik, Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, said, Death from plague is martyrdom for every Muslim. Hadīth 48. Narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, He, a Muslim, who dies of an abdominal disease is a martyr, and he who dies of plague is a martyr. Hadīth 49. Narrated Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, that she asked Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, about plague, and Allah's Messenger, peace and blessings be upon him, informed her saying, plague was a punishment which Allah used to send on whom He wished, but Allah made it a blessing for the believers. None, among the believers, remains patient in a land in which plague has broken out and considers that nothing will befall him except what Allah has ordained for him, but that Allah will grant him a reward similar to that of a martyr.